Most people don't fail because they're lazy. They fail because their systems are sloppy. But if you can master habit stacking, you can change your whole identity without burning out. Let's get into it. Hey, and welcome back to Get Uncomfortable. Thanks for joining me again. As you see it in the intro already, I want to talk today about habit stacking. So a really simple idea that can really change your life. It's worked wonders for me, and I want to pass that along to you today. So I think when you're talking about habit stacking or habits in general, I think the first thing to recognize is why habits fail. Okay, so people often try and make these massive changes, whether it's New Year's resolution or whatever it is. People try and make these massive changes just through willpower. And that is so difficult. That's almost impossible to do. If you think of I'm just going to quit smoking through just because I decided, I've never smoked, but I imagine that's just brutal. The first time you see somebody else light up a cigarette, that's got to be really, really tough to handle. They don't anchor habits in existing routines. So again, if you want to do something new and you don't attach it to something you're already doing, it's a whole new skill. And that makes it even more difficult to do. Relying totally on motivation is another reason they fail. We've talked about motivation and why motivation just doesn't work consistently in the long term. Make habits too big, too vague. If we say I want to work out 5 days a week, what does that actually mean? What does that look like? Like, what are those workouts? Where do I do them? How do I do them? There's a lot of variables in there that you need to try and eliminate. If it's business, I want to make a certain number of calls a day. Okay, who are you calling? When are you calling? All that kind of stuff. And when people look for perfect circumstances to do them. And I think this is the key for me, because there's really no perfect time to do anything. You need to carve out the time to do it just when it works. If you got to get it done, you got to get it done, right? So one really good book that I will highly recommend would be Power of Atomic Habits. I think it's Atomic Habits by James Clear. And it's a really good book, dives into systems and building habits and what that actually looks like. Some really good stories there. And I think one line that really stands out to me, and I did write it down so I don't mess it up: you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So we need to make sure that we have systems in place for these habits you want to build, right? If you don't have a system, it's going to be so damn hard to build those habits. So you want to be mindful of that. So when we talk about habit stacking, and I get just to clarify what I mean by that, habit stacking is simply attaching a new habit or a new skill that you've developed to something that you already do to make it automatic. And I got a couple really, really simple examples for you. It's essentially you take something that you want to integrate into your life, attach it to something that you already do, and it gets a lot easier to form that habit. Similar to the person, that has a glass of milk with a meal. It turns into a habit where when you sit down for supper, you have milk. I don't even know if people drink milk anymore, but that used to be a thing. Everybody grabs a glass of milk when they sit down for supper. So that would be one of those habits. I think, again, going back to the Atomic Habits principles, I would say there's four major principles. We need to make habits obvious. So we need to tie a habit to a cue that you just can't miss, right? Now we'll get into examples after. We need to make it attractive. So you need to make it enjoyable in some sense. Like, what does that actually look like? Is it convenient? Is it easy? Actually, making it easy is the third step. So just make it easy. Make it undeniable, because it's just there and you're just going to do it. It's already laid out for you. And again, make it satisfying. If you want to track, I shared a really cool story through a video the other day in training here, just about tracking goals. And there's a story, it was Zig Ziglar. Yeah, Zig Ziglar landed. He had a goal. He wanted to go to Brazil, right? Totally not what we're talking about here, but he wanted to go to Brazil, and he just made it attractive, made it fun, added some drama to it. When he had his journal out, and when the plane tires touched down in Brazil, he had his journal and he just checked it off, right? He added some drama, as he says. He added some pizzazz. He made it enjoyable, made it attractive, right? So those are all key factors. Make it obvious, make it attractive, make it easy, make it satisfying. Okay, so those are going to be four major pillars of creating those habits. I said I'd give you a couple examples. So for me, it's a silly one, but I think one of the neatest or coolest habits that I've developed that helps me communicate this to you guys is flossing. Okay. Um, Shout out Oral B flosser sticks. You've just won the won the chance to sponsor this episode. No, I'm just kidding. But hey, so Oral B, no, not Oral B at all, but flosser sticks. So you buy those little green plastic flosser sticks. I guess to go back, my teeth, when I was young, I always had cavities, right? I don't know if anybody else like this, but I brushed my teeth every day, morning and night, and I'd still get cavities. Turns out that my teeth are very close together. So if I don't floss regularly, it's just easy for me to get cavities. So that was an issue, and I just always really had a hard time flossing regularly. It was not a habit that I could really build for whatever reason. So got to the point where as an adult, I was like, man, I just don't want any more cavities. This is getting ridiculous. I got to figure this out. But I could not for the life of me just build that new habit. And for whatever reason, I couldn't attach flossing to brushing my teeth, which you think it should work. So what I did was I actually bought a bag of those little flosser sticks, and I left them in my truck. So I spent a lot of time in my vehicle, and really if I want to habit stack, often I'll add a habit to driving. You know, if I'm driving around to showings, driving out to show acreages, bombing around the city all day in my truck or whatever that is, it's an opportunity for me to add those habits. So what I did is I got the flosser sticks, and then I would typically start my day and I would jump in my vehicle and floss on my way to work, right? I started that a couple years ago, and since then I have not had a cavity because I'm just so consistently flossing. I floss every single day. As soon as I should say every single day I drive anywhere, which is pretty much all the time that I'm going to jump in a vehicle. And it turns into this really super reliable habit. And now over time, I don't even think about it. Typically, I'll jump in my vehicle. If I'm alone, I'll just pop open the center console, grab my flosser sticks, and I'll clean my teeth, right? Maybe a weird thing to talk about on here, but I think it's just a super valuable, simple habit that I can express to you. Now it's just totally automatic. I don't think about it. It just happens. Haven't had a cavity since. And I think that's just really what we're going for here in that super simple, easy and automatic way. Another thing about driving, like I kind of said, I always find it very, very cool. Zig Ziglar mentioned him earlier, but he introduced to me this idea of the automobile university. So back when he was a big speaker, he used to talk about these tapes. He'd sell his tapes, his motivational tapes, right? And he would really encourage people to pick up the tapes, put them in their vehicle, and then just while they're driving to and from work or whatever that is, they could listen to his speeches or his commentary on everything, on mindset and self-help, as they called it then. And I just found that really, really good. So I just kind of adopted that mindset. Again, I don't read a ton of books. Like I'm in a book right now that I'm really enjoying, but I don't read a ton. But what I do is I always listen to books and podcasts and stuff like that while I'm driving around. Obviously, podcasts are important to me. We've talked about that before, but some of the hugest life lessons I've learned have been from audiobooks. And it's just a really, really good book that I just didn't get around to reading, but you want to drive to Edmonton or just, half an hour a day, 15 minutes to work, 15 minutes back from work, whatever that is, just listen to some really amazing stories from some really amazing people. And that all comes from stacking that habit. I'm already driving somewhere and I want to learn. I want to consume these books and consume this knowledge and information. Why not just do it together? So in my vehicle, I'm flossing, I'm learning, I'm driving to work. I mean, that's a pretty good stack where it's an activity I'm not wasting or I'm not spending any more time. Because if we look at time as that most valuable currency, I'm not spending any more time, but in that 30 minutes a day, I'm getting ultra productive when I could be listening to music or I could just be looking out the window, whatever that is. But I'm really proud of the fact that I've found ways to incorporate those habits into my daily commute. It's a real simple thing and ultra valuable. Um, and then it also, like, one thing, a little bit of a side note for me, it also gave me that I'm the person that, like, for me to be able to consume those books, I would have never done that much if I read them all. I probably just wouldn't have the time, right? For me to sit down and prioritize the time to read for a half an hour a day. I know that sounds pathetic, but it just felt really difficult for me. If I get to the end of the day, sometimes reading is enjoyable and relaxing. Sometimes reading before bed for me just was like, man, I just want to shut my brain off, right? And whether that's veg out on the couch or just go to bed, I just found reading in the evenings kind of a hard habit to start up. So again, just something that now I can just say I consume that information. I learn daily, whatever that is. And if we go back to some of those 4 pillars about building habits, right? Making it easy and attractive, simple. So it's simple because it's there, but making it attractive is like finding some good books with some really good stories that have some really valuable insight. I found very easy, right? So I got a list of a few here, but Shoe Dog was one, the Nike story that I really enjoyed that was recommended to me. Green Light was another one that was really great. Endure, the Cameron Hanes book that I know I've talked about on here. The Comfort Crisis is one I'm listening to right now. Michael Easter is a really good book. One that I actually found really good was The Ride of a Lifetime, I think it is. The story about the Disney CEO, right? And I just think that story was really cool. Gives the Disney story a different outlook. So there's a couple there. If you ever want more recommendations, I'd love to share some others with you as well. But you can get any book on Audible or whatever. And then there's the countless podcasts that you could check out, right? We've talked about all those, but there's so much valuable information and they all make it quite enjoyable as well. You know, whether it's you're looking for relationship advice, and John Deloney is a great one. He's super entertaining and he also has a lot of good insight. Fitness go-to would be Mind Pump. Personal development, you have like Jay Shetty, who's super entertaining and has some great guests. You have Mel Robbins. So all these are ways to just insert that information and knowledge into your life by enjoying and taking in content that's enjoyable. The other thing that I have found too is just in a fitness journey sense, one thing that I've really enjoyed is we have an old stationary bike that I know I've referenced on this show before, but I try to meditate and it doesn't work super well for me. I'm not, again, for me to shut my brain off and meditate and carve out 20 minutes a day or whatever just feels difficult. But sometimes I have some of my greatest, we'll say in my own way, gratitude meditations or really just like what I consider meditations and just relaxing meditations, whatever that is, mostly gratitude for me, but just on a stationary bike. So again, I'm habit stacking by, if I want to get some activity in the late evening and it's not a workout day or I don't have the energy for a full workout, I'll still go down and I'll bike. And I take that opportunity to just kind of like decompress sometimes. Sometimes I take that opportunity to read, listen, like I said, or go through a gratitude practice that I have or whatever that is. But I think, again, just like, so I'm taking the habit of biking when I don't have the energy to do other stuff. And I'm just inserting, okay, I'm going to get as much, I'm going to squeeze this orange as much as I can, kind of get all the juice out. And, by adding in something for your mindfulness practice, right? And for me, that's, having a gratitude practice while I'm exercising is super valuable. Not only can you do that, but if you look at, again, another health and wellness one that I really love is I'm a husband and I'm a father. And sometimes it's hard not to let certain goals of mine, it's hard not to let them get in the way, it feels. So yesterday was a good example. Today's December 1st. Yesterday I Actually, I did something else yesterday. I'll share you. But yesterday, I didn't really have the energy, we'll say, to do a full workout. I had hockey the 2 nights before, and then I actually went rucking or rucked. I don't know what the what the terminology is, but I rucked. That doesn't sound right. I went rucking. That doesn't sound right either. So I carried a heavy bag. I went for a walk and carried a heavy bag. So, but in that, I got back. I actually rucked and meditated. I didn't put music in, and I went through mindfulness practice, habit stack. And then I got home, and I still wanted to be active. I wanted to have an active rest day. And just shifting the mindset a bit is we hadn't finished our Christmas lights. So my 10-year-old daughter and I went outside and we walked around in the yard in the snow for probably 2 hours and did our Christmas lights. We did our inflatables in the front, and I could have went, put her in front of a TV, put her in front of a book, told her to go be creative on her own, and went down and worked out. Definitely could have done that. And I'm not saying I haven't done that in the past, right? Everybody's human and everybody needs space or whatever. But I just looked at things a little bit differently. So I'm going to get 2 things that are valuable to me. I'm going to get real quality time with my child, and I'm also going to be active. So I ended up getting my steps through the roof yesterday. And I spent some really quality time and made some really great memories with my daughter. So again, it does not have to be flossing and driving. It can be being active and spending time with others, which is crucial. So in that, it's like after a meal is another good one. After a meal, to get your digestion going, to make you feel better, or whatever that is, go for a walk. Go walk with your spouse. And what did you just accomplish? You just got your steps up, right? So it's better for your health. You got moving after a meal, better for your health. You went on a walk with your spouse or your family or your kid or whatever that is. If you're alone, you can meditate. You can have that gratitude practice. If you're with somebody, you can just really connect with that person. So all of a sudden, you've done 3 or 4 things just by getting up from the table and going for a walk. Really just like huge wins. Because if we're looking at how we can stack those wins up, you can go for a walk by yourself, which is still very good. And sometimes you need to do that. But go for a walk with somebody you really care about. Meet somebody for a walk. Go somewhere different. Like all these things where if you need to go for a walk, there's a time and a place for a treadmill, but there's also a time and a place to open up your life to new experiences and go walk somewhere new or go meet somebody at a park or whatever that looks like, right? So I think, again, just really stacking those habits. You want to go for a walk, you want to meet somebody new, do them together. And you can just get so much more accomplished in your life if you're putting these things together. So I kind of touched on personal, on teeth, on on health and wellness, fitness. Another thing that I'd really like to touch on would be business, right? So I know for me, sometimes it's super valuable to have that habit stacking and just really pinpoint and find those spots where we can attach things together. So for me, my day, first thing in the morning, I wish I could be more productive, I would say first thing in the morning, but it usually turns into somebody waiting to talk to me, taking calls, answering calls, emails, just fires, whatever that looks like. So for me, it kind of like once the dust settles a bit, kind of around that lunchtime, I can get my energy up. I can have a healthy meal or some sort of a meal anyways, but try and have a healthy meal, get my energy up. And for me, I'll always go for my afternoon coffee. Okay, I'll always after lunch, I'll pour coffee, and it kind of just gets me back into work mode a little bit. Grab my coffee after lunch, and I'll go to sit down at my desk. And for me, if I'm really prospecting well, if I'm making calls well, if I'm reaching out to people consistently, I found for me that's a really good one because it's not a new skill. I know how to dial somebody on the phone and I know how to go pour myself a coffee, but it's finding that time of day where it's productive for me to take that step and put things together. So for me, grab my coffee, go sit down. I'm refreshed after lunch and I sit down with my coffee and I make a call, right? So that's a stack where you don't need to carve out 45 minutes to go to a different room and cold call a bunch of people. It's like just starting that momentum. And yeah, it's amazing how much benefits you can find, or that I've found, in just these little habits. So like I say, it doesn't always have to be about flossing your teeth, and it doesn't always have to be about losing weight. It doesn't always have to be about business, but there's ways to stack habits in every avenue of your life that will reap major benefits. I promise you that. So my challenge to you, I want you to stack some habits, figure it out. Like, I think there's huge value in that. So as you're working to stack some habits, I would love to know that you pick something you already do. So, whether that's jumping in your car, starting your car, brushing your teeth in the morning, laying your clothes out at night before bed, even if it's, sitting down on the couch to watch your favorite show. What does that look like? And pick something that you can attach your habit to. And then you want to add a micro habit, just something very small, something that takes maybe less than 2 minutes. It could be sitting down to watch your favorite show and doing 10 jumping jacks, or doing 10 push-ups, or it could be jumping in your vehicle on the way to work, and instead of listening to music, it's listening to a book, right? Find that little micro habit you can attach to something that's already in your life, and start building on it from there. Reduce friction, right? If you're gonna listen to a book on the way to work, go on Audible, find a book, right? If you're going to read a couple pages at night, or if you're going to journal at night, which is a really, really valuable one, get a journal and put it by your bed with, a pen and everything on your nightstand. That way, before your head hits the pillow, you cannot avoid it. I think is a super crucial thing to do. The flossing, if you want to start flossing, put flosser sticks in your center console of your vehicle. It will be, you'll realize that they'll always be there. And when you start, maybe it's like put one on your steering wheel before you leave the vehicle, whatever that looks like to you. But reduce friction, make things as easy as possible to make things as hard as possible to avoid, right? If you cannot avoid it, it's going to make it that much easier for you to build that habit. And then track that identity shift, and don't sell yourself short, right? I'm the person that flosses every day, and even something as small as that makes me feel good. I'm the person that connects with his family over a walk, or I'm the person that chooses fitness, or I'm the person that eats healthy. And once I know I did that in the last episode too, and winter is coming. And if you want to check that out about my walks in the winter and in the evenings and stuff like that, that story you tell yourself is ultra valuable. When you can say to yourself, I'm the person that puts this effort in, or this extra effort in, it makes you, like, even now, I feel like I'm drawn to sit up straighter and just be a little bit more confident, right? I'm the person that has good posture, whatever that is to you. That there's a ton of value in that, just to track that identity shift and understand that that's valuable to you. So those are your things. Those are the systems you need to build. And I really, really want to challenge you to pick something today. It does not have to be big. It actually should be quite small. Pick something that you can just incorporate into your day-to-day life. And I promise you will thank me. Even if you don't thank me, you will appreciate adding these things into your life. It's like me with the flossing, me with the listening to books. Some of my best ideas, some of the biggest positive changes in my life have come from listening to books that I've enjoyed listening to. So I would really, really encourage you to pick those small things to stack. Whatever it is, pick your small habit. Every time you walk into the kitchen, grab a glass of water. Every time it's a silly one, but every time you grab junk food, do 10 push-ups, right? Whatever that is, it will change the physiology in your mind, and you will grow a lot more confident and just achieve more at the end of the day. So keep in mind, small stacks moves to an identity shift, and then that moves to like unstoppable dedication, major discipline, and just these rock solid habits that you can't break, right? What we want to create is a habit that you can't even break. If I go for a drive now, and I feel the urge to floss and I don't have flosser sticks, I'm very uncomfortable. And I know that's a good thing in a lot of ways, but like I'm stressed out because I'm just like, why can't I just floss real quick? I just want, give me that good stuff, that Oral-B, right? Yeah, so I would just say, like, just pick something, try it out, start small. I would love to hear what you pick, and I would love to hear how it goes for you. Let those habits build your identity, because your identity builds your future, right? And that is one thing that you can lean into every single day. The more efficient you get habit stacking, just the further along you'll get in life. I've really enjoyed habit stacking, and I've been blessed to have heard about it. Hopefully this is blessing you guys. You know about it now. If you haven't already, check out Atomic Habits. There's a lot of really valuable resources on building habits, but at the end of the day, start small and start attaching them to things you already do every single day, and that's going to change your life. Okay. Appreciate it. Thanks so much for joining me tonight. Would love to hear how this landed with you. Like always, comment, share, subscribe, all that stuff. Hopefully you guys are enjoying this ride, and I appreciate you along for the journey. Take care.